hunt. It's not that interesting to try and fight them on their own terms.
So if you had to pick a favorite,
if I had to pick a favorite in the matchup,
who would you say is a favorite?
I would give it to Tim Gillespie.
Any particular reason why? Is it because
yeah.
the ton of planeswalkers he had here, or what?
The ton of planeswalkers are nice. The fact that Darin's deck, even though he has cut down on some of those elements, still has cards like Unsummon, Pillar of Flame, and Searing Spear, which are nearly blank in the matchup.
They're pretty bad here.
They don't do anything relevant. The best thing you could possibly do is like 2-for-1 yourself to kill a Jace, which sounds miserable.
It's not good.
No, it's not good. And his sideboard is also not well set up to counteract it. He has like 3 or 4 more counter spells plus a Tamio, but that's not really going to like completely reverse. Basically, he's just going to become like, he's going to get to where his opponent already is, which is, not where you want to be in sideboarding. You want to try and get ahead of them.
As we see the game underway, both players should keep 7, and we're going to see, of course, a couple of turns here of just land, go, land, go, land, go. Perhaps a Think Twice here, a Farseek there, but that's really about it.
Everyone complained about Delver of Secrets, but at least he made things happen.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. I've said that multiple times today. Everyone wanted control decks back. We got them, so people aren't allowed to complain about this happening. At least that's how I feel.
Geist of St. Traff resolving. Tim played a Shockland on turn 2. I'm curious if you ever consider like paying the 2 life to bluff the Syncopate in that position if you can't beat a Geist. Tim can actually probably beat one. I don't know.
I mean, depending on what he has a Detention Sphere, which is, super mediocre, and he's passing the turn back, which means at least 6 is coming in. He could Azorius Charm the Angel. I don't know if that's a good use of that card, but it could happen.
In this matchup, it seems pretty mediocre, but then again, so does taking 4 damage, so.
Well, here comes 6.
Yep, looks like we're going to buy time, which is what Azorius Charm does. It is not a card that is designed to actually get ahead or accrue any particular advantage. It's just to get you into another turn of the game.
Okay, he's just going to draw a card. I thought he was actually going to take care of the Angels. So
that was peculiar. I think he was going to do that, and then he changed his mind at the last minute, is what it kind of feels like. Why else would you do that during combat?
Until it knocks him down to 14, we do see a Jace in his hand. Good question is, does he have a 4th land?
Oh, I guess he has Terminus, so
sure.
That's a reasonable thing to be looking for with the Charm, I guess.
This is a bad turn to be passing back without a land.
This is not good. Grim, even.
Geist looking to get a free win.
If this is the texture of our hand that we're in this kind of a bad spot against Geist, I think it was probably worth it to bluff the response on turn 3 just to buy some time. That 2 life.
Sure.
Now that we know a little bit more about the composition of the hand. So one of the things I believe Adam Perzak actually said, people they treat their shock lands like their tap lands a lot, and they have that ability, but you want to use it sometimes. 2 damage is not that much in Standard.
Yeah, you can afford to take. I feel like you can afford to take 2 free ones, putting yourself down to 18 to at least bluff Syncopate and make Darin think twice about casting his Geist.
At a minimum, it is valuable misinformation.
I definitely agree with that as well. Now he's just getting beaten down. It's discarding of the Terminus, passing back. And what it looks like we're going to see here most likely is the Slayer Stronghold activation to finish this off.
Yep, that seems likely. There's not really a lot of risk to the play because Tim would basically have to have, Azorius Charm or whatever to stay alive. Yeah. And then he'd have to peel a Terminus or a land for Supreme Verdict.
Okay,
Pillar Flame also does the trick.
So just like that, and a matchup that typically takes a lot longer than this.
Yeah.
Game 1 goes by in 6 turns.
And note how, influential Pillar Flame was in the matchup.
It's sweet. It just turned everything.
Maybe we were wrong. Maybe he should be boarding in the 4th copy. Oh, he didn't board the 4th copy. What a mistake. In sideboard, Darin Minard actually does have a few interesting cards. We talked about the 2 Negates, the Dissipate, the Tameo, and the Dispel he can bring in, which will let him get on Tim's level, so to speak. Another thing he can do is bring in Dungeon Geists, which is not an awesome card, but it's a reasonable one if your opponent's trying to beat you to death with Thrag Tusks. The downside being it's incredibly vulnerable to Restoration Angel. Yeah. So if your plan post-board is to make sure that card never resolves, bold, to say the least.
Very bold.
Then I could see bringing in Dungeon Geist. However, what he didn't see is that Tim actually has Caverns of Souls, so he can't even guarantee that.
Yeah, Tim has 2 Caverns in his main deck to be able to get Angels through. Angels that he does have are 3 Restoration Angels and 1 Angel's Trinity. Looking at his sideboard, which we've already done once today, he has access to 4 Dissipates. Also, 2 Detention Fears, 2 Supreme Verdicts. Supreme Verdict is just a nice way to trade 1-for-1 with Geist of St. Traff. He has 2 Rest in Peace, which I would be surprised to see get boarded in here, along with a Rave Revelation and the Spicy one.
Psychic Spiral.
Psychic Spiral. For when a control mirror goes very long. I kind of like that.
That is pretty spicy, yeah. One of the things you can notice with Tim's sideboard plan is that his deck is way better on the play than on the draw in this matchup.
Agree with that.
That's just one of the things that happens when you're running Dissipate in this format, I think. That's just generally true. On the upside, Darin has Syncopate, which is one of the ways to like steal that tempo
on the draw.
From the draw.
Yep.
Yeah, so bit of a trade-off there. Interesting is that Tim is also not running Geist in his main deck or sideboard, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't anywhere through 75, which is kind of a surprise because most blue-white decks like this do have Geist in their sideboard somewhere to at least try to steal a game. Just like we saw Darin steal that game. So I was a little bit surprised by that.
It's also one of the most efficient answers to itself. I know Adam Prozek said he does not board Geist in unless he knows his opponent has Geist available as well, because he's more interested in getting a Hero's Demise than a Geist to Saint Trap.
Yeah, just a simple legend rule to deal with the thing so you don't have to board in Wraths to take care of it.
I expect we might see a surge in clone as people decide that this is something worthwhile. Actual clone.
Okay.
Because when your opponent doesn't have a Geist, there are decks that could generate value from a clone but could not generate value from a Geist. Adam's deck is a perfect example where a Geist is just a pretty bad creature unless you have a Pike. But if you had a Pike, you were already beating them to death anyway. It wasn't that big a deal. So I actually like something like Clone, where if your opponent has a Thragtusk, you're not going to be like, ah, man, I didn't draw my Geist. I drew my Geist to Legend of those guys, but he didn't draw a Geist. He just drew a Thragtusk, now he's going to kill me.
Sure. That's true. That's actually really true.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a Clone or maybe two popping up in sideboards in the future.
Cloning something like Angel of Serenity is like is completely realistic, especially against the Reanimator decks. No, that actually makes sense. I actually kind of like that idea.
Oh man, now you've got me dreaming of the day when I get to clone a Craterhoof Behemoth Cedric.
Where do I sign up? Where do I sign up? Punish somebody.
God, that would be so demoralizing. Now I really want to do it to somebody.
Clone it, kill him. The actual dream come true. I still think overall, things are going to lean Tim's way in this matchup. I think that Darin just has too many dead cards in his deck, or mediocre cards.
Sure. I mean, that wasn't like even a game of Magic, really, that we played. I think that post-board, Darin has a much better chance because his deck list more closely resembles Tim's in the post-board games. That said, the downsides are that he still has not Thragtusks, where Tim has Thragtusks. And Tim has more sweepers that can actually handle all of these creatures, whereas Darin has no sweepers unless he's bringing in Supreme Verdicts, which seems like pretty grim. I don't think I would want to do that against a deck that sports 8 Planeswalkers.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near Supreme Verdict in this matchup. Like, there's a chance he brings in Supreme Verdict just to hedge against Geist, which is something like Tim actually wants to happen.
Right.
Is to have someone bring it in. So.
Yeah, I agree that Tim is better positioned. If he can just deploy a quick Jace or Tameo, it's very easy to just win the game outright.
Or just hit his land drops. That's what's so key in control mirrors, which is what people forget a lot. So the first couple turns of the game, you can't afford to miss a land drop as he did, because you just lose like almost automatically if you
Tim is a little light on lands at 24. Most of these lists that I've seen run 25 and still have the 4 Farseeks. So.
And you don't find like any cantripping in his deck either. You don't find Thought Scour or Think Twice or anything like that. So
he's shipping it back. It looked like it was a little land light. That was just a glance. Darin's not excited about his hand.
Pasco checking out Darin's
dedication.
Joey
to
just
his craft.
loves Magic. I gotta
he does.
Tell you.
I'm jealous.
You're jealous that you don't love Magic as much as Joey?
Right.
All right.
I'm not saying I don't love Magic. I'm just saying, not that much.
That's true. Joey does love Magic. He's on break right now this round. He's just birding.
Yep. You need to get him a badge. Talk to Tim.
He wants to see blue, white, red mid-range in action. And he loves these control decks in the format. So he told me, we were talking last night in the room, he just loves watching these decks play.
You tell him that somebody's going to try and cast a Jace, and he's all over it.
Yes, he is. Any Jace he wants to see in action.
Well, we've got both players on 6. I don't think it especially favors either one in the mulligan situation, to be honest. Tim has a little bit more card advantage, considering the Planeswalker's card advantage and the 3 Sphinxes revelation. But realistically, like, resolving that card at any point is mostly game, so it's not really a factor that it can draw cards.
Jeez, this is a rough hand. It looks like there's...
It looks like a 1-lander with like multiple detention spheres or something. Did I read it wrong? No, 2. He has a Hindrance Harbor. Okay. Yeah, that does not seem awesome. Detention Sphere is not very good in this matchup. I'm actually curious to see it still in the deck. Did he just not have cards he wanted to bring in? Like, I would rather have like Centaur Healers or something.
I think there are enough cards that he could bring in, because he's going to get himself kind of in the situation that he got himself in last game.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have an Azorius Charmer, and we know he doesn't have a Farseek. He has to actually just hope that Darin doesn't have a Geist.
Darin does have a Geist, though.
Yep, and that's
His
a pass.
Geist, Dissipate, Thundermaw, Hellkite, Glacial Fortress, and another land.
He's just going to get Snapcaster out there to get the clock started.
Yep. Well, he has no spells in his hand, so it just makes sense, right? And post-board, he's boarded out a lot of the ways that his Snapcasters gain an advantage in the first place.
Sure.
You also want to keep in Snapcaster if you suspect your opponent might have Geist, because a play like this can let you put a blocker into play when they can't dissipate it and just ward off their Geist. But in this case, it's just going to give Darin free reign.
So there's a Hinterland Harbor. We're probably just going to see Detention Sphere.
Just super miserable.
Taking care of a 2-1, which is just like, ugh, go.
Got your Ambush Viper, B. You're up.
Got that all taken care of.
And now we're untapping with Geist of St. Traft, and it looks like it's going to be Darin real quick and easy at this point. He only needs to muster a couple of counter spells, and the game will just be over on the spot.
Just protect the Geist. But again,
unless we Supreme Verdict.
Yeah, if there's a Supreme Verdict hanging out, so we see a third Hinterland Harbor.
We need white mana for Supreme Verdict to let us out. I don't even know if we have one. I think we might. No, that's a Sphinx's Revelation. All right, Jace.
Jace, is that okay? Please say it's okay.
I mean, it's one less damage a turn. You can probably let it resolve, Darin. He may even be neg-2ing it this turn. He's in a bad way. I would certainly be considering it.
Surprised that resolved. There's a Dissipate over there, right?
I'm not. I think, yeah, there's a Dissipate, but nothing else. I think he wants to save the Dissipate for something that like might realistically threaten his position. And the Jace is not that great. He can just kill it this turn. Send Geist at it and the Angel at Darin or at Tim. So
that's kind of like a time walk. I mean, it is a time walk if that's what he chooses to do. Just because he's on a 2-turn clock right now, so it makes it a 3-turn clock.
Sure, but if he does cast the Dissipate, then a lot of cards can resolve. Like a Thrag Tusk would be like huge. And Thrag Tusk doesn't even matter right now.
So we're gonna see
Restoration Angel means that we're back on track for our clock. I think he drew that last turn. Thundermaw Hellkite.
Oh, okay. Okay, that just changes everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he drew the Restoration Angel, which we didn't see, and the Thundermaw gives him
now.
Actual lethal. He may have actually been considering countering it based on his suspicion that the opponent would +1 for the neg-1 nego and take away his clock that way. Darin appears to be offering consolation. Yeah, sorry we didn't play much of a game. And Tim's like, yeah, you played a